Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
Here I am back on the Transmission Gully project, and finally I've caught up with a Kiwi who's in one of the leading roles on the project, and I'm speaking today with Dave Wheatley, who's a senior project engineer. Nice to meet you, Dave.
Nice to meet you too.
Alrighty, now I understand too that you've actually been involved in some of the very cool projects around New Zealand. Also that tunnel going through to Puhoi up in Auckland, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, correct. I started my career up in Auckland, went to university there and started with an international company called Leighton's at the time, and we built a section from Puhoi back down to Orua. So I was part of that project.
From there, where did you go?
I got taken over to Middle East, built a few different things, including a golf course, a hotel, and a quarry up in the hills of Oman.
Exciting stuff. That's very different. Now you're back here, but Transmission Gully actually has quite a long association with your family, I understand.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. My grandfather, or Pa, we used to call him, was mainly working in the lower North Island as a civil engineer for the Ministry of Works back in the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s. Did lots of work in Rimataka Tunnel and Paraparaumu Airport. And around early 1950s, he took a team of surveyors through the first part of Transmission Gully and plotted out a bit of a route and made one of the original concept designs for the final route that we're building now.
That's very, very cool. So a massive connection with the project, even before you were born, really. What is also pretty impressive are the engineering challenges in building this road, because essentially you're building it on a massive fault line. So how hard is it to build a road on an active fault line?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. It's definitely some of the most challenging earthworks that we get to do in New Zealand. There is a lot of moisture in the ground everywhere we go. Basically, we're dealing with material that's been so smashed up by the active fault that it's almost a paste in areas. So some pretty tricky ground conditions. We've got cuttings over 100 metres high, and they're pretty tricky in the fact that we're getting up into some very steep and dangerous ground really to get to them and bring these cuts down and then stabilise them so they are going to be safe long term for the road user to travel on.
Wow, it sounds just amazing. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that your teams had, say, working on the Winery Saddle, because that's one of the highest points, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. So it's up at around about 330 vertical metres above sea level. So as we climb out of Paikokariki and Mackay's interchange, we come right up from basically zero or sea level up to 330 metres. The saddle itself is quite unique in the fact that it really is the shape of a cutting already. We're essentially just widening that shape and deepening it to ensure that we get as best grade as we can up to the saddle and back down towards Wellington. It receives up to about 50% more rain and wind than the surrounding areas, so it can be raining quite often there. You can be underneath the cover of clouds and not even be able to see, your mates standing next to you, but down towards Paikokariki or further north on the Kapiti coast, it's fine and sunny. So very tricky area. A lot of water comes down, a lot of water comes out of the ground at you, so it makes it a good challenge.
And are you on track as far as on time building that part of the road?
Yeah, that's correct. It's always been one of the, program pressures of the job. The saddle's been going 24 hours now for over a year, and we're on track to open it in time.
Okay, now I also hear that you guys are becoming magicians as well, because you can make water flow uphill. You've managed to raise a stream at parts up to 30 metres above its original location. How have you done that?
Yeah, so not quite magic. We haven't made it go uphill. We've just done a few little tricks. So basically the Te Puka and the Horikiri stream sections as you come up towards the saddle and back down the other side are down the very base of the gully naturally. Part of the road alignment goes through those gullies, and as the road alignment sits above those gullies, we have to partially fill in that gully. So what we essentially did with the existing stream is we set out in the very early days and fished those gullies, so remove the fish life from those gullies, set up nets at either end, remove those fish, put a network of pipes down the very base of the gully, so those pipes came right down the middle of the gully and up the side tributaries, and then went about basically doing earthworks over the top of that pipe network. So filled the gully up to the level of a new stream, and that stream sits between 5 metres and up to 30 metres above the existing. And right now we're underway sort of building the new stream. So they're about just over 50% complete now, these new streams, and we should have them all complete and live basically, so flowing water by Christmas time.
I just love the engineering that goes into this. So any new big challenges coming up in the near distant, or is everything sort of starting to settle down now?
No, there's always challenges every day. It's a very difficult job, and because of the ground conditions and because of how complex the design is, there's always something to solve every day. We're definitely past the halfway point. We've planned pretty much everything to the end now and know what we're doing everywhere. It's just about executing that plan.
Fantastic. There you go. That's Dave Wheatley, Senior Project Engineer for Transmission Gully. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me this morning.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be back again on the Transmission Gully project next week, so make sure you keep listening. Same time, same place. Where is it? it? Of course, it's Beach FM 106.3.
106.3 Beach FM.